$948,000. That number is the number that I got when I added up what we have given away to missions since we launched as a church. It started off very small in 2013 to like $20,000, but it has increased more and more and more up until 2023 when we gave away $202,930. When you add it all up together, it's $948,000, $50,000 shy of $1 million, which is interesting because we're trying to raise $1 million for our building. Now, why did I feel led to add up what we've given away to missions? Here's why. To be completely honest, I struggle with the idea of us raising $1 million to spend on ourselves. At least that's how it can feel. Oh, we're buying, just to build this building. Do we really need a building? So I've had to continuously go back to the Lord and go, okay, Lord, we've got all these people praying and fasting. We're asking people to dig down deep, and they're going to be giving an offering, and we're trying to raise $1 million. Why again? And God has been faithful to remind me, okay, there is a lot of benefits here that a building can bring to help us reach more people and advance his kingdom. Churches don't need buildings. Let me be clear. Churches don't need buildings. And some churches he's called to not have a building. He's called us to not have a building for the first 12 years, right? We're going on 12 years. And we've been fine. We've been fine. But you could also nitpick everything and say churches don't need bands, churches don't need trucks, churches don't need vans, churches don't need offices, churches don't need a paid pastor, churches don't need a lot of things that we have. I mean, we can get really technical and say, well, we don't even need our own homes. Look what they did in the book of Acts. They sold their homes and gave it. So maybe all of us shouldn't, we can become really, 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 I think, religious about it, and maybe even cynical. And I know there was a time early on when I would kind of be a little prideful maybe about churches who had buildings. Oh, look at them with their buildings, dealing with their furnaces. We don't have to, we're not all caught up in that stuff. We're just reaching people. But I've been convinced over the years that a building can actually be a tool to help us reach more people and advance God's kingdom. So I just want to share, in case that's you. I know some people are more prone to want to give to a building project because they can see how it's going to be used versus giving away money to missions where they can't see. Others of us like to give to missions because I'm not responsible for that. I don't know if they're using it for their own buildings and their own houses. And by the way, they are. We've given away money to missions, and missionaries use stuff for their own buildings and their own permanent spaces. And we helped rebuild church buildings in Puerto Rico after a hurricane a few years ago. But I know for me, I'm just like, I'll help you build your building. I'm just a little skeptical about us focusing on our own building. But I think that's a religious spirit that I've had to deal with. So what are the benefits of a building? Let me share some of them. Number one, it will help bring about more stability. More stability. Many of you guys may not know that, but we are paying rent at 4 different facilities. We are paying rent to Brick Memorial High School. We're paying rent to First Baptist Church of Manasquan, where we hold our youth gathering, our men's breakfast, our women's breakfast, and some other gatherings. We're paying office rent where I am right now. That's our office. And now, because our ESL program got kicked out of Osborneville Baptist, or they had to leave. I don't know if kicked out's the right word. And they're moving over to another church in Brick, and we're going to be paying rent there. So that's 4 different places. We are all over the place. That sends a message that there's a lack of stability. We have to admit that and acknowledge that God has been providing, but there's a lack of stability. And some folks who are looking for stability in a church may go, let me wait till they get their act together. I know that that's been the case for some people. Is it a wrong reason not to try out a church? Maybe. But hey, nonetheless, there are some people that I think we may not be reaching because of a lack of stability. Just to set up and break down, many of you guys don't know this. We have volunteers there at 7:15 a.m. and they're there till 12:15 p.m. on Sunday morning. It's a lot, and it's all going on 12 years now. It's been a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of wear and tear on people. time away from family on a Sunday morning. It's also wear and tear on our stuff. Our equipment breaks often. We have to order new things. Where's this thing? Oh, I don't know. It must have gotten lost in the truck, or there's just a lack of stability. There's also a greater sense of presence in the community that we will get with a building. Let me be really, really specific here. People have come on a Sunday morning to Brick Memorial High School because they've seen our signs out on the sidewalk. Our signs on the sidewalk are there for like 3 hours on a Sunday, 3 hours in a week. Imagine being in a place where we have signs up 24 hours a day. So it's not just people seeing it when they happen to drive by between 9 and 12, but they're driving by on a Tuesday night and they say, oh, there's that church. You know what? I'm gonna check that out on Sunday. Or you drive by at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday and you see it. You know, there's that church, a new church building. I might want to check it out. Not everybody knows about us. Not everybody's Googling for a church. They're driving by, they might see a sign and go, having events in the community, having events where we can host things for the surrounding towns gives us a sense of presence in the community. During Hurricane Sandy, churches with buildings were able to house people. We were not. We helped, we served, and that was great. But that was one thing we were not able to do. So that's presence. That kind of overlaps with outreach. We are a active mission-minded church. Many of our people are active. We have ministries like the ESL program. We have the Homework Club. We have a ministry in the Chelsea Assisted Living Home. Those are ministries that I don't think should be brought to our building. Well, maybe the ESL program, but the Homework Club should happen in that community. The Assisted Living Home should happen in the Assisted Living Home because residents can't leave there. But there are other ministries that can happen in the building that we are currently not able to do. The mayor of Brick, for instance, asked us, some clergy, who of you can be part of Code Blue, which is you open up your church building on the days or evenings when the temperature is so cold that homeless people would freeze. So hey, we can open up our homes or our church building, they can come in. Well, we can't do that with a building. We could be part of that Code Blue program. That's one specific example. Main Street Alliance Church in Manahawkin, they have made excellent use of their building for the sake of outreach. They would say that they went from a church where it was mostly made up of Christians and a few unchurched people to now having that building, it's mostly unchurched non-Christians who are in that building. And it's not just a weekly basis, it's a daily basis where they're doing a daycare, they're doing after school program, they're hosting wrestling, like wrestling, a wrestling team goes there for practice. There's AA groups and NA groups. These are the types of things that we can do with a building. We have a presence in the community, and then we can say, hey, now we're going to serve the community. Y'all can come use the building. We'll have a system for that, of course, but having people in the building allows us to serve them and build connections with them. And so that's part of our vision, to be able to do that. So those are just a few examples of how it can increase outreach. Financial stewardship, it's a lot up front, a lot to build, feels like a lot, but in the long run, right, we get this building paid off. Of course, there's going to be repairs, and we know that, but get the building paid off. And then how much more money can be sent to missions? We've already, in the life of our church, sent $1 million out to missions. We're going to keep giving as much away to missions as we have been. That's our goal. One of the reasons we're doing the fundraiser is so that we only have to borrow a certain amount so that it doesn't mess with our budget. We can still keep giving 25 to 35% of our money to missions. But once this building's paid off, think long term, think next generation, more money can be given to missions and more money to missions. So financial stewardship, and then just a community hub, because our vision is to have multiple neighborhood campuses in southern Monmouth County and northern Ocean County. We want a place where all those campuses can come together. They can come together for a training, for a workshop, for a worship night. So I'll stop there. Those are just a few examples. I mean, the bottom line is we can have plans. We need the Lord to help us to be faithful with it. Statistically, more people start coming to a church once you have a building. Um, you can argue that that shouldn't be the case, but it just is. It just is. So let's leverage that, right? The goal is to reach people. So listen, I am just humbled by the amount of you guys who have leaned into this process, who have prayed, who have fasted, who have decided to give substantial amounts. So not that I know what people are giving, but that they've just talked about, I prayed with my wife and we landed on the same number. By the way, that's happened with 5 couples now. So God is just stretching us in the process. And since discipleship is our primary goal, just this process of praying for this thing and fasting and considering what to give, it seems like God has been doing a work in all our hearts. And so that's a win right there. Looking forward to seeing you all at the picnic on Saturday, and then we'll take our offering on Sunday. Thanks, guys.